take 15 minutes each to put up? Okay, I'll take 15 minutes per light then. A few years ago, I was an electrical apprentice in California. We had one foreman who was a particular... My female friend set me up with a loyalty test to see if I would hook up with her or not. I'm a 24-year-old man, and my friend Jess is a 22-year-old woman. We've known each other for about 3 years since we met in class. We've always been platonic, and to be completely honest, I'm not the kind of guy to go for it. Yesterday, Jess was supposed to move. I was going to drive my truck over to her place, help her load up her stuff, and get her out of her apartment. Her situation with her roommates has become highly unstable due to irreconcilable differences, so she was in a rush to leave. The day before yesterday, as a way of thanking me in advance, Jess ordered pizza for the two of us. We were sitting there watching a movie on my couch, being platonic friends as usual, and then suddenly she inched closer to me. I figured it was nothing until a minute later she got a little closer. Then she got a little closer, and all I could do was think about how it was finally happening. She squeezed up real close next to me and looked up at my face. I'm not the most confident guy, so all I could say was, "Hi," to which she responded, "Hi." Then she asked if I wanted to do something. I asked what something was, and she said, "Oh, you know, something." Still trying to keep room for plausible deniability, again, I laughed and said I don't know what something was. She kept staring at me and nodding, and I thought I'd just take my chances. I asked if I could kiss her. She immediately stood up, walked to the other end of the room, and sat down on the armchair. Then she took out her phone. I immediately apologized to her, and she said that I should just forget it. A few minutes of incredibly awkward silence passed, and then she said, "I guess Kim," who's her best friend, "was right." I asked what Kim was right about, and she explained that for several years, Kim has repeated again and again that I was only trying to get into her pants. Apparently, Kim put her up to testing me. I felt horrible. Immediately, I apologized to Jess again, and said that while I found her attractive, I'd do nothing to hurt our friendship. And then I apologized yet again. Jess accepted it while crying a bit, and then I told her she had nothing to worry about. After Jess went home, I got to thinking that it was incredibly mean-spirited that she'd do that to me. I'd apologized, but that juvenile high school prank just started to strike me the wrong way. I talked to my sister, who I can talk to about anything, who reinforced that it was disgusting behavior. Then she asked for Jess's address, which I declined to give her. The next morning, instead of meeting up with Jess at the promised time, I just didn't. I'd taken the day off work, but I went in anyway because I wanted to take my mind off what happened. Jess was blowing up my phone all day, and then I got a couple of text messages from a number I didn't recognize, which I imagine was Kim. Finally, Jess called me a flaking creep, and that was the end of our friendship. I'm really mixed on this. I feel kind of bad, but not so bad. Was I wrong? Am I the jerk? No, I'm gonna say that this one wasn't on you. You were about as open to the concept of this just being a misunderstanding as anyone could be, to the point where she was sending the clearest fricking signals since the Morse code championships. She might have even been offended if you hadn't taken your chances, although that's speculation from me at this point. Also, you asked for consent and clearly respected her, quote, feelings on the matter when she made them clear. And clear is a massive question mark, as this whole encounter is just so damn murky. I can relate to being so flustered by a sudden attack that you end up apologizing, and then only realizing afterwards that you've been completely wronged by some absolute tosser. So for that, you have my sympathy. The one thing I will say on her behalf is that at least you could have told her you weren't showing up, and explained how you felt betrayed by it all. But if you were completely done with her after that, I'm not sure that anyone would blame you. You want the lights to take 15 minutes each to put up? Okay, I'll take 15 minutes per light then. A few years ago, I was an electrical apprentice in California. We had one foreman who was a particular kind of particular. If he wanted you to use a push broom to sweep a room, you had to do it in big strokes and not small ones. So one day he came to me and my journeyman and he goes, "I need you to put in all these T1000s in all of these rooms. It should take 15 minutes per light, that's what the box says. So this'll keep you busy for the day." We get to putting the lights up and find that even I, in my first year, can install these things in like 7 or 9 minutes. So we knock out like 5 or 6 of these in the first hour, and then the foreman comes by and screams at us. "What the frick? I told you it should take 15 minutes per light." My journeyman says, "Well, they were really simple, so we were able to get them knocked out pretty quick so far." "No, I want it to take 15 minutes per light. No excuses." I promise you all that he said that verbatim. So he storms off, my journeyman looks at me and goes, "Well, back to work then." Then about 5 minutes later, he finishes his light and I finish mine a few seconds later. And he goes, "Okay, timer still has 9.5 minutes left, so we're just gonna chill for 9.5 minutes. We did them all this way up until lunch came rolling around. The superintendent swung by to check on the job site, and we are just sitting there talking about sports. The guy comes up, looking confused and mad as all heck. "Why the frick are you sitting around and not working?" "Well, the foreman told us it should take 15 minutes per light and that we needed to take 15 minutes per light. So we knock out our light, wait for the timer to run out, and then start the next one," said the journeyman. "Oh, what the frick. Alright, I'm sorry guys, when you come back from lunch, just knock them out as you normally would. I don't know why he wanted it this way, but I'll fix it." The foreman got chewed the frick out for it, and I learned a great lesson in malicious compliance that day. For clarification, yes, working too fast can be detrimental to a job, but this was 2016 Hayward, San Jose, California projects. Our specific company had multiple bid projects set for that summer and next. So while yes, this could have put people out of work, yada yada, in this situation, there was more than enough work and we couldn't get them done quickly enough, given that they were considering working 5 10-hour shifts for a few weeks. What a strange situation to be in. Normally bosses on physical jobs like this are rightfully getting into deep crap for pushing their employees to go faster and causing them to make mistakes or dangerous shortcuts that end up with people getting injured. Maybe this guy had seen something like that happen and was going right out the other end with his caution? In which case, I'd say I appreciate it, but come on. It doesn't sound like this was the hardest part of the job that they were doing, or that there would have been any fallout from the way they were doing it, unless they were skipping important safety procedures. I hope you enjoyed the countless 9-minute breaks you had leading up to your lunch break. Was that one crossword for each bulb? I'm just glad that your superintendent was smart enough to not punish you and instead realize that his middle manager was the issue here and discipline him. You even got an apology. Who says that all bosses are jerks? If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked below. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Can't even drive the company truck 12 feet on the weekend? Okay, this is my husband's story from a few years ago. He was an equipment salesman and had a company pickup that he brought home at night and on weekends. His company didn't allow personal use aside from driving it to and from work. Some salesmen took advantage of having a pickup and did use it for personal use, and the company installed GPS systems on all company vehicles at the first of the year. My husband was pretty miffed as he hadn't really misused his truck, but he figured he had nothing to hide, so he shrugged it off. In February, he had to attend a trade show on a Saturday. This triggered the GPS and he got a nasty call from his boss, who was located in another state. My husband had to provide documentation that he was attending a company-sanctioned event. He felt like he was being babysat. This happened a couple of other times as well. On Saturday that spring, he backed the truck out of the garage and onto the driveway to get the lawnmower out. After he finished mowing, he pulled it back into the garage. Yep, you guessed it, this triggered the GPS twice, and on Monday his boss called him and chewed him out. My husband tried to explain, but Lou was mad. "You know you're not meant to drive the company truck on the weekend." "I was moving it out of the garage so I could get my mower out. Does your report show how far each trip was?" "They were 0.0025 miles each." He paused as he seemed to realize how short of a distance these trips were. Well, that doesn't matter. Not driving after hours or on the weekends. This is being noted in your file." So on the weekends, he either parked on the street or in the driveway. A few weeks later, his compliance became malicious. We lived in the Midwest where thunderstorms, tornadoes, and hailstorms are not uncommon. We were under a storm advisory with a strong probability of hail. "Should you move your truck into the garage?" I asked my husband. "You'd think so, but today's a Sunday and I'm forbidden from driving my truck even a few feet, so it's gonna stay where it is," he said. As the hail came down, about the size of a quarter each, he looked out the window at the truck, grinning. He loved explaining the damage to his boss and reminding him why the truck was no longer parked in a nice, safe garage. When he reported the damage, he reminded his boss that it was a shame he wasn't allowed to move the truck into his garage when he became aware that a storm was coming. The boss knew damn well he had maliciously followed the policy. The policy was relaxed and reworded a few weeks later, and I'm not sure if it was a direct result of this. The only time these devices have come up on my tenure on this channel is when they're being badly used by idiot bosses to try and control the comings and goings of their employees. And when said employees follow policy to the letter and everything goes to crap, the stupid rules get quietly and meekly walked back because the people in charge realize that more often than not, people break the rules for good reasons. In this case, to not have to pay through the nose to buff 1,000 tiny dents out of a vehicle on company dime. The only time I've heard of them being useful is when employees use them to vindicate themselves when they're accused of using them on their free time, or show that they weren't in fact in an area that they were getting told off for being in. Basically, whenever managers try to use GPS devices to streamline things, it only ends up teeing everyone off and wasting time on disciplinary actions, with things often going completely to crap when policy is finally followed to the letter as it was here. No, I won't clean your table. But you can talk to my manager. She won't clean it either. A couple of years ago, I was working for a theme park as a live entertainment support tech. Now, I'm a lighting stagehand by trade. This particular story takes place on my second day of work after returning from a 4-year hiatus. We were all working hard to get the summer show up on its feet and ready for tech in a couple of weeks. So we took a longer lunch break than normal, low-level staff like myself and our department supervisors, at a pizza place across the street. Now, the way we dressed for this position was fairly distinctive amongst our staff, but I guess less so when you leave the park. We wear show blacks, all black clothing down to socks and undershirt, and some sticklers even insist that we wear black underwear. The black shirts, which are button-up work shirts we had, as well as the ball caps several of us were wearing, they all had the name of the theme park and entertainment in silver, in a less than missable font. On top of which, we had name tags with the company logo and our tool belts on our hips. The pizza place, however, had shorter-sleeved black polos for managers or t-shirts. And although similar in the black theme, they were not at all alike. Anyway, sorry for the long setup, but it's important you know how unbelievable this situation was. So I'm making my way through the buffet, grabbing pizza and some salad when I hear it. The impatient shriek of, "Excuse me." I'm focused on my lunch as we're still on the time crunch after all. Naturally, I assumed this woman just wanted me to step aside, so I politely moved. I heard a distinct huff and then felt a not too gentle tap on my shoulder. I turned around, confused. "Can I—" "Finally, I've managed to get someone's attention. All these tables are filthy and I want you to clean one for me." I blinked for a moment, about to utter the words you all expect. I got as far as, "I don't work—" "I know you're on your lunch break, but you can stuff your face in a while. You have a paying customer here with no place to sit. Am I just supposed to eat standing like an animal?" Yes, she actually said that. I point to the logo on my work shirt, and she doesn't even look. But nonetheless, I say, "Sorry, I can't clean your table for you. There's always someone at the register, maybe they can—" "You're right here, right now. Why should I have to wait for someone else to do your job?" At this point, I just sigh and begin to walk off. The Karen shrieks, "I want to talk to your manager." As it so happens, guess who was sitting at the table with our staff? Suddenly, I get a very novel idea. I flag my manager over. The manager says, "Hey, what's going on? This woman said she wanted to speak to my manager? Why would she—" "This lazy sack of crap isn't doing her job. I want you to tell her to clean me a table now." She doesn't work for the pizza place. Neither do I. What the frick is wrong with people these days? No one ever gives good service anymore. My manager, seeing what I'd just been putting up with, went off on Karen. My manager didn't yell and was very controlled to the point it was scary. I wish I could remember exactly what she said, but I'd wandered out of earshot after she told me to take my food and sit down. All I know is, Karen finally seemed to get the message. Here's the best part, I don't know exactly why, but Karen left, without ever eating a single slice of pizza that she had paid for. My manager ended up giving me some cash to cover my lunch after all the crap, so thanks Karen, I guess. #thanks Karen. A saying that I've never heard before and suspect I'll never hear again. Keep an ear out and call me on it if that exact thing ever gets uttered here again, listeners. Also, even if the guys did work at the pizza place, I think most people have more decency than to call up an employee who's on their break. They might wonder why you're on your break when there's work to be done, but no more than that. Also, if I need a place and there are just a bunch of tables like this in a restaurant, you know what most of us would do?